Welcome to the Week 4 professional case study for the data center project. This presentation documents the Week 4 meeting and summarizes the minutes for the reporting period from August 21st through August 26th, 2022. The material is presented by Nexera Engineering and Construction, serving as the main contractor for the CSA and MEP scopes. That means this meeting record is positioned within the broader coordination and delivery responsibilities of the project team. The date shown here is August 26, 2022, and this is identified as page 01 of the meeting documentation. As we move through the following pages, I'll use this record to highlight the key points discussed during the week, the project information captured in the minutes, and the areas that require attention or follow-up. The central focus is the Week 4 meeting record for the data center project, covering the defined reporting period and the contractor's coordination role. This slide establishes the document and control basis for Week 04 of the data center project. I'm presenting a weekly coordination minutes and project control record for the period of August 21st through 26, issued on August 26th, with Nexera Engineering and Construction identified as the main contractor for CSA and MEP scope. The important point is that this is not simply a meeting summary. It is a controlled decision record covering HSE, mobilization, engineering, program, quality, site readiness, utilities, and MEP and commissioning governance. The record brings together 30 isolated Week 04 source records, with each source visual retained on its own slide. There is also a date control issue that we need to keep visible. The cover advances to August 26th, while the internal source records remain dated August 19th. Any repeated values are therefore treated as source reported until that movement is reconciled. Finally, the status rule is explicit. A status becomes green only when the owner, date, acceptance evidence, and verified closeout are all confirmed. That rule governs how decisions and progress should be interpreted throughout the rest of the presentation. This navigation slide provides the roadmap for the Week 04 monthly operating review for the data center project. It organizes the material into 6 sections, so I can move from executive oversight into delivery detail, then close with analysis and forward planning. Section 1 covers meeting control and the executive position, on pages 2 through 7. Section 2 addresses health, safety, environment, the program, and mobilization, across pages 8 through 10. Section 3 focuses on engineering, procurement, quality, and commissioning, on pages 11 through 14. The largest section is the MEP Systems Report, which runs from pages 15 through 35 and represents the core technical review. Section 5 brings together the Week 4 project records and project management analysis, covering pages 36 through 65. Finally, Section 6 consolidates the key risks, decisions, actions, lessons learned, and priorities for next week, on pages 66 through 71. The main purpose of this structure is traceability. Each topic has a defined place, page range, and progression from current status to decisions and follow-up. This is the Week 4 executive control position for the data center project. Although the report date advances to August 26th, the underlying data cutoff remains August 19th, so the reported position is effectively unchanged. The source report still shows 0 incidents, 14,148 cumulative man-hours, 92 project and field personnel plus 7 utility interface workers, and 28 plant units with 1 tool lot. It also records 39 engineering submissions with no replies, 4 of 9 readiness activities complete, trial mix activity, and ongoing PLN relocation. The main concern is that this stale cutoff hides the current position on HSE, workforce and plant utilization, engineering aging, critical path movement, and completion status. The August 29th board pile target is now imminent, while permit, IFC, utility, plant, trial mix, and MEP and commissioning evidence remains open or unreconciled. A new report date is not progress. The immediate response is to issue one signed Week 4 data pack, reconcile movement, confirm the board pile release decision, recover engineering replies, close the remaining gates, and assign clear ownership and evidence paths before Week 5. This executive dashboard presents the Week 4 source position and control valuation for the data center project, covering the main contractor's CSA and MEP scope. The central message is overall control valuation is read. Several source records require revalidation. HSE shows 0 incidents across 14,148 hours, but the cutoff is August 19th. Workforce, plant, engineering, and site readiness data also remain incomplete, unreconciled, or unsupported by refreshed allocations and accepted movement. The control concerns extend into the program and quality position. The plan is dated August 19th against an August 29th target, with release still open. The August 11th trial dossier and disposition have not been refreshed. Utility interfaces remain red because the gas dependency is waiting, while MEP and commissioning readiness still have open ownership and governance gates. Finally, data confidence is low because the report issue date and source cutoff conflict. The project manager's assessment is that an integrated progress, HSE, resource, engineering, or commercial position cannot yet be certified. A signed August 26 data pack must reconcile movement, aging, variance, and acceptance against the August 19th baseline. This slide establishes the executive control framework for the data center project. The matrix connects each KPI domain to its source position, the week 05 acceptance gate, the current RAG status, and the project manager's required response. The key message is that a KPI is only useful when it leads to a decision. HSE, workforce, plant, quality, and utilities are amber or red because their underlying records, reconciliations, or acceptance packs still need to be brought current. Engineering, site readiness, and program are particularly critical. Engineering has 39 first submissions with no replies, site readiness shows 4 of 9 items complete, and the program needs a current baseline, constraints, recovery position, and signed release decisions. MEP and commissioning, along with commercial status, remain open rather than being credited prematurely. That distinction protects the integrity of the dashboard. Each owner is expected to issue evidence, close gaps, and protect workfront decisions, not simply update a color. The dashboard rule is straightforward. Every KPI needs a date, owner, target, current value, variance, clear RAG logic, and a decision-oriented narrative. This turns reporting into executive control. This slide reviews the week 03 commitments against the week 04 evidence, with a clear emphasis on control rather than narrative. The central message is that an action is not closed because it was discussed or repeated. It closes only when the accountable owner provides objective evidence and the designated verifier accepts it. Several commitments remain unresolved. The meeting of minutes control spine was retained, but the source cutoff still needs reconciliation. The board pile target remains August 29th, yet signed permit, IFC, and utility release evidence is not shown. Engineering recovery is also critical, with 39 submissions and 0 replies repeated without current aging information. The PLN and gas authority positions are similarly repeated without current authority evidence. Plant, operator, and trial mix records remain open, while MEP and commissioning ownership is still at the approval stage. So, the status labels are more than a summary. They identify where management attention is required, and they distinguish open work, critical gaps, and assurance items. The practical test for the next cycle is simple. Bring the evidence, identify the verifier, and record acceptance before changing the status. This slide summarizes the week 4 HSE position for the data center project, covering the main contractor's CSA and MEP scope. The headline indicators show 0 reported incidents, 14,148 cumulative man-hours, 50 days worked, and 42 people on site, including 35 project workers and 7 utility workers. These figures are marked with an asterisk, so they should be revalidated against the August 26th reporting date and the internal cutoff of August 19th. The key message is that performance numbers must be paired with evidence of effective controls. The table sets out 5 controls to test each week. For induction and competence, we need unique personnel, roles, validity, and any exceptions. Toolbox talk should be tied to the actual task, hazard, crew, supervisor, and attendance. Inspections must record risk, ownership, deadlines, and closeout proof, with recurring findings declining over time. Incidents and near misses require investigation, verified actions, and removal of recurrence risk. Finally, permits for high-risk activities, including lifting, electrical work, hot work, excavation, and confined spaces, must match current drawings and isolations. This is how leading indicators turn a reassuring headline into defensible HSE performance. This slide assesses program control for week 04, using the source look-ahead dated August 19th. The reported position is already showing a significant control concern. 39 engineering submissions are recorded, but 0 replies are reported. The slide also notes that the current aging has not been reconciled, so the status cannot yet be treated as reliable. The program image still carries a board pile target of August 29th, along with long lead targets running from September 3rd through October 3rd. However, Report 004 does not show a refreshed data date, actual movement, available float, explained variance, or recovery logic. That means the critical path position remains unverified, and we cannot confidently assess whether the planned workfront is protected. The immediate control requirement for week 05 is clear. We need one current logic-linked program using a single data date and baseline with actual quantities, documented variance causes, recovery ownership, and a signed decision confirming board pile release. This is the evidence needed to move from a repeated reported position to a controlled, defensible program. This slide focuses on mobilization and the point at which resources become genuinely usable workfronts. The source register identifies 92 project and field personnel, 7 utility interface workers, 28 plant units, and 1 tool lot, based on the internal cutoff of August 19th. But presence alone does not prove readiness. The key test is whether each resource can support the August 26th workfront plan. That means reconciling additions and removals, shift loading, competence, supervision, certification, pre-use inspection, and productive utilization. The readiness gates set out the evidence required before release. Design and permits require the current IFC, or issued for construction, revision, and approved changes. Utilities and access require surveys, scans, trial pits, relocation acceptance, and a confirmed logistics route. Method and risk controls require approved WMS, ITP, RAMs or JSA, and emergency arrangements. Resources must have certified plant, competent operators, maintenance records, and calibrated instruments. Finally, production control must capture daily quantities, constraints, downtime, quality, and photo evidence. Release authority is assigned to the accountable project, interface, construction, HSE, quality, planning, and package leads. In short, mobilization is complete only when evidence supports controlled production. This slide focuses on engineering and document control, governed by the construction need date rather than by submission date alone. The immediate concern is clear. Engineering remains the leading release risk. Report 004 identifies 9 material approvals, 10 RFIs, 18 shop drawings, and 2 work method submissions, with 0 replies recorded. Even without current aging information, each item needs to be reconciled to its revision, reviewer, construction need date, and downstream workfront. The priority before week 05 is to recover decisions affecting board piles, temporary power, logistics, and long lead items. The control framework then defines how these submissions should be managed. We track response aging against the agreed service level or construction need date, and we verify whether each response is approved with comments, marked for revision, or rejected. We also link every constraint to an activity, purchase order, or test gate, while confirming a named decision owner. Finally, closure requires more than an email or text response. It requires an accepted decision, an updated controlled drawing or model, and evidence that the information reached the field. This slide focuses on procurement control for long lead equipment with one practical objective: protect the need date and the factory acceptance test, or FAT, gate. The August 19th look-ahead identifies target dates from September 3rd through October 3rd for critical packages, including chillers, MV switchboards, lifts, gensets, PDUs, CRAWs, and chilled water pumps. Because those dates are now close, each package needs a current, evidence-based review. The review should follow the full control chain. First, confirm the technical release, including approved requirements, interfaces, and deviations. Then verify the commercial decision, the purchase order, and the vendor data schedule, so engineering and construction receive usable information in time. Next, check manufacturing readiness, the FAT plan, witness arrangements, and punch closure. Finally, validate shipment, customs, storage, preservation, and site acceptance against the installation and commissioning sequence. The key management rule is simple. Acceleration is acceptable only when compliance, interfaces, FAT, and evidence remain intact. Moving faster cannot mean removing the controls that prove the equipment is ready. This slide focuses on quality control as the discipline that turns completed work into accepted, traceable work. The key point is that no concrete release is credited until the full, approved dossier has been reconciled and issued. For the trial mix, that means confirming the August 26 status, batch and sample identities, calibrated testing, laboratory results, witness signatures, the approved mix, and the formal disposition. The table shows how the same principle applies across the project. For materials and rebar, we verify approvals, certificates, heat numbers, and test results against the specification. For concrete, we connect the design mix and trial data to batch tickets, slump, and cube records. Piling and foundations require complete records from bore logs through integrity results, with every pile accepted against the design and inspection plan. Inspection requests, witness releases, nonconformance reports, and corrective actions must be closed before work is concealed or a defect repeats. Finally, digital turnover must be indexed so evidence is retrievable by system and location. Traceability is the acceptance gate. This slide establishes the commissioning framework for the data center project. Testing and commissioning is managed within MEP delivery, while the client or commissioning advisor provides independent acceptance oversight. The key principle is to preserve future acceptance now by defining the evidence, responsibilities, and release gates before systems are built and tested. Week 4 carries the system-based MEP and commissioning framework forward, but the weekly source does not include refreshed quantities, approvals, factory acceptance releases, installations, or tagged commissioning records. That makes Week 5 critical. The team needs to approve the system register, responsibility matrix, asset hierarchy, design and procurement interfaces, builder's work requirements, installation release gates, testing route, and tagged turnover evidence. The table shows the full progression from CXL 0, design review, through CXL 1 factory testing, component verification, receiving and installation readiness, pre-functional testing, functional performance testing, integrated systems testing, and finally operational readiness and handover. Each level builds the evidence needed for the next, from maintainable design and approved test scripts to failure scenarios, training, operations and maintenance documentation, spares, warranty support, and final acceptance. This staged approach makes commissioning measurable, traceable, and much easier to defend at handover. This slide is the executive control view for Week 04, and it turns a broad MEP program into specific acceptance gates for Week 05. The central rule is simple. Every MEP system must report its boundary, current gate, objective evidence, next gate, owner, need date, interface risk, and required decision. Overall MEP control remains open because the source movement has not been refreshed, so ownership and evidence-based release must be signed by system. Design and procurement are red, with 39 design submissions and no replies at the cutoff, while long lead items require immediate control from technical release through purchase order, vendor data, FAT, and delivery. Builders work, mechanical, life safety, digital security, vertical systems, and commissioning also remain open, requiring coordinated interfaces, access, testability, system registration, and tagged evidence. Electrical is amber, focused on utility, protection, earthing, topology, and energization authority. The project manager direction throughout is to replace general status with named ownership and verifiable evidence. Abbreviations on the slide clarify the language, including IFC, FAT and SAT, TMS, and the red amber green status system. This slide establishes the control basis for the Week 4 MEP governance review, using a reusable reporting model that can continue through Week 110. The focus for this week is to approve 4 foundations: the MEP responsibility matrix, the system register, the TMS hierarchy, and the design review plan. The governing principle is that missing evidence remains open. It must never be treated as an assumed green status. The table defines 5 governance gates, each with its minimum controlled evidence and its release authority. Systemization confirms systems, boundaries, asset hierarchy, testing packages, and interfaces. Design and configuration control the criteria, responsibilities, coordinated drawings, calculations, deviations, and changes. Procurement verifies vendor data, document registers, factory testing, logistics, preservation, spares, and warranties. Installation and quality require released work methods, inspection plans, calibrated tools, records, tags, red lines, cleanliness, and punch closure. Finally, testing, integrated systems testing, and handover require approved scripts, prerequisites, witnessed results, raw data, issue closure, operations documentation, training, and signed acceptance. This structure makes ownership and evidence visible at every stage. This slide presents the MEP system readiness matrix, covering the major packages that support the data center, from cooling and ventilation through generation, UPS, fire and life safety, water treatment, drainage, communications, controls, and central plant optimization. The common position across every package is important. Each remains open while the CXL0 register is being established. That means readiness is not being assumed from design activity alone. Each system must provide the evidence needed to progress, such as approved calculations, PNIDs, studies, factory testing, commissioning records, and witness documentation. The final column turns that evidence into a practical next step. It identifies the decisions that still need approval, including system boundaries, redundancy, autonomy, interfaces, operating philosophy, authority requirements, and failure mode criteria. The governing rule is do not assign a RAG status until the owner, data date, system boundary, next gate, and acceptance evidence are confirmed. Until those points are clear, the status stays open or amber, with a dated week 05 action. This keeps the matrix evidence-based and prevents false confidence in overall readiness. This slide presents the second page of the MEP system readiness matrix for week 04. The central message is that every listed package remains open, with the CXL0 register still to be established. That applies to water leak detection, passenger and firefighter lifts, EOT cranes, BMUs and monorails, internal and external security, integrated commissioning and IST, BM and asset tagging, O&M and training, and utilities and authority approvals. For each package, the matrix identifies the evidence needed before the next verification gate. That includes approved layouts and risk zones, load and coverage information, certificates and proof tests, security and operational responsibilities, commissioning scripts and raw data, asset and turnover records, training and spares schedules, and utility or AHJ milestones. The readiness status rule is particularly important. A RAG rating should only be assigned when the owner, data date, system boundary, next gate, and acceptance evidence are all confirmed. Until those conditions are met, the status stays open or amber, with a dated week 05 action. This keeps the matrix evidence-based rather than giving a false impression of progress. This slide presents the week 4 control position for the mechanical MVAC scope on the data center project. The focus includes cooling generation and heat rejection, pumps, CRAH, AHU and FCU equipment, ventilation, pressurization, ductwork, pipework, and controls. The key point is that progress remains at the governance level because system-specific movement has not yet been refreshed or tied to approved boundaries, accountable owners, and accepted records. No activity is reported complete until its asset tag, inspection or test record, punch status, and supporting evidence are linked in the turnover management system. Across the control domains, the next gates are clear. Scope needs an approved boundary, redundancy philosophy, room criteria, and failure mode matrix. Design needs coordinated calculations, schematics, equipment schedules, controls narratives, and access zones. Procurement must address long lead equipment and factory acceptance testing. Site readiness includes access, supports, drainage, flushing, cleanliness, and testing readiness. Finally, commissioning should progress from pressure and leak testing through startup, balancing, functional testing, and integrated thermal and failure scenarios. Week 5 therefore requires signing the system register and responsibility matrix, then publishing need dates and evidence gates. This slide presents the Week 4 control position for the mechanical fuel system, covering storage, transfer, polishing, containment, and generator interfaces. The key message is that progress credit remains at the governance level until each package is tied to an approved boundary, accountable owner, and accepted record. The control table shows what still needs to be established across the full delivery sequence. For scope and design, the team must approve autonomy, tank and pump duties, hazardous area requirements, bund and drainage provisions, pressure and flow criteria, and generator interfaces. Procurement has not yet been released, so long lead equipment and factory acceptance obligations need to be identified. On-site access, lifting, builder's work, pipe cleanliness, pressure testing, earthing, and safe filling routes must be protected and planned. For testing and turnover, the current position is CXL 0. The next evidence path runs from leak and pressure tests, through flushing and transfer proving, to alarms, interlocks, and the autonomy run. The mechanical or fuel package manager owns this control, and no activity is complete until its tag, test record, punch status, and accepted evidence are linked in the TMS. This week's control position is focused on moving the electrical system from broad scope definition toward accountable, evidence-based release. The system boundary includes utility intake, transformers, generators, switchgear, UPS and batteries, low-voltage distribution, busway and PDUs, along with earthing, lightning protection, and metering. No progress is credited beyond governance until each package has an approved boundary, an accountable owner, and an accepted record. The immediate priority is to sign the system register and responsibility matrix, then publish need dates and evidence gates across design, procurement and FAT, builder's work, installation, testing, and handover. Key design evidence includes current single-line diagrams, load and protection studies, cable schedules, and EPMS points. Procurement must address vendor data, testing, batteries, relays, and interfaces. Site readiness must cover access, containment, torque, insulation resistance, high potential testing, earthing, and cleanliness. Commissioning currently sits at CXL 0, so boundaries, tags, acceptance criteria, and witness authorities still need definition. The electrical manager and CX manager own this control, and no activity is complete until its test record, punch status, and accepted evidence are linked in the turnover management system. This slide sets the control position for the fire alarm system within the data center's life safety scope. The system includes panels and networking, smoke and heat detection, ASD or VESTA, manual call points, PAVA, and interfaces with MEP, security, and suppression systems. The key message is that progress remains at the governance level until every package has an approved boundary, accountable owner, and accepted record. For Week 5, the immediate action is to sign the system register and responsibility matrix, then publish need dates and evidence gates across design, procurement and FAT, builder's work, installation, testing, and handover. Design still needs the fire strategy, zoning, interface schedule, alarm matrix layouts, loop and riser diagrams, battery calculations, and coordinated device locations. Procurement must establish vendor release, compatibility, FAT, and SAT requirements. On site, the focus is cable segregation, loop integrity, tagging, access, and interface termination. Testing begins at CXL 0, progressing through device and loop tests, cause and effect proving, interface tests, and an integrated fire scenario. The fire alarm manager and CX manager are accountable, and completion requires linked asset tags, test records, punch status, and accepted evidence in the TMS. This slide sets the control position for the firefighting system in Week 4. The scope includes fire water storage and pumps, hydrants and hose reels, sprinklers or pre-action systems, clean agent or local suppression where specified, valves, drainage, and life safety interfaces. Progress remains at the governance level, not the activity completion level, because system-specific movement has not yet been tied to an approved boundary, accountable owner, and accepted record. The immediate control gap is evidence. The team still needs an approved fire strategy, hazard classification, hydraulic demand, zoning, redundancy, coordinated layouts, PNIDs, valve matrices, and defined alarm interfaces. Procurement must identify approved equipment, pump and controller FAT requirements, certificates, spares, and specialist suppression data. On site, readiness includes tank and pump room access, builder's work, flushing, hydrotesting, supports, valve tags, and impairment controls. Testing begins at CXL0 and should progress through hydro and flushing, pump churn and flow, alarm valve and interface testing, suppression integrity, and the integrated fire test. For Week 5, the required action is to sign the system register and responsibility matrix, then publish need dates and evidence gates. The firefighting manager and CX manager own this control, with every asset linked to inspection, testing, punch status, and accepted TMS evidence. This slide sets the Week 04 control position for the public health water systems, including incoming water, treatment where required, potable and non-potable storage, pumps, dosing, distribution, backflow prevention, metering, and sampling. The key point is that progress remains at the governance level until each system package has an approved boundary, accountable owner, and accepted record. The main control gaps are clear. The design basis, responsibilities, loads, and interfaces still need evidence. Procurement and factory acceptance requirements must be defined, especially for treatment skids, pumps, tanks, materials, spares, and consumables. On site, space and builder's work provisions must be protected before installation release. Testing begins at CXL0 and needs defined tags, boundaries, acceptance criteria, and witness authority. For Week 05, the required action is to sign the system register and responsibility matrix, then publish need dates and evidence gates covering design, procurement and FAT, installation, testing, and handover. Acceptance should progress through pressure and leak testing, flushing and disinfection, treatment proving, sampling and verification of duty, standby, and alarms. The public health manager and CX manager remain accountable, with every completion linked in the TMS to its tag, test record, punch status, and accepted evidence. This slide sets the Week 04 control position for public health systems, specifically drainage, rainwater management, and the sewage treatment plant. The key message is that progress remains at the governance level. System registers and release gates are being carried forward, but no package receives progress credit until it is linked to an approved boundary, accountable owner, and accepted record. The scope includes foul, soil, waste, condensate, floor drainage, stormwater collection, attenuation or reuse, oil separation where required, and STP discharge. The next control step is to confirm catchments, discharge points and limits, invert levels, flood criteria, and effluent requirements. Design evidence must then cover calculations, coordinated layouts, falls, venting, surcharge risk, maintainability, and treatment performance. Procurement and installation controls are also still open, including vendor releases, FAT obligations, space and access, builder's work, water tightness, cleanouts, and contamination control. Testing progresses from water and air tests through CCTV and flow proving to pumps, alarms, STP commissioning, and effluent sampling. No activity is complete without linked asset tags, inspection or test records, punch status, and accepted evidence in the TMS. This slide sets the Week 4 control position for the ICT system, covering carrier services, backbone infrastructure, LAN and WAN, structured cabling, wireless, racks, pathways, grounding, labeling, and monitoring interfaces. Progress remains at the governance level, not the completion level. The weekly source does not provide refreshed system-specific movement, so no package should receive progress credit until it is tied to an approved boundary, a named owner, and accepted evidence. The immediate Week 5 action is to sign the system register and responsibility matrix, then publish need dates and evidence gates across design, procurement and FAT, builder's work, installation, testing, and handover. Key design controls include diverse routes, capacity, redundancy, latency, cybersecurity boundaries, grounding, and maintainability. Procurement must identify long lead equipment, licenses, spares, and factory data. Site planning must protect rooms, containment, access, cleanliness, labeling, and calibrated test equipment. Testing currently sits at CXL0. The path forward is copper and fiber certification, network configuration, resilience and failover testing, service acceptance, and an as-built database. The ICT and commissioning managers are accountable, and every claimed completion must link its asset tag, test record, punch status, and accepted evidence in the TMS. This slide establishes the Week 4 control position for the data center's BMS and EPMS scope. The focus includes servers and networks, controllers, sensors and meters, graphics, alarms, trending, the historian, and interfaces with mechanical and electrical assets. Progress remains at the governance level until each package has an approved boundary, accountable owner, and accepted record. The immediate priority is to sign the system register and responsibility matrix, then publish need dates and evidence gates across design, procurement and FAT, builder's work, installation, testing, and handover. Key design deliverables include the point schedule, controls narrative, graphics standard, alarm matrix, trend plan, and interface drawings. Procurement must address long lead equipment, software, testing environments, backups, and spares. Site readiness covers power, networks, sensor access, calibration, and controlled software versions. Testing currently begins at commissioning level 0, with a defined path from point-to-point checks through loop tuning, sequence and alarm proving, failover, and final integrated testing. The BMS or EPMS manager and commissioning manager are accountable, and no activity is complete until its tag, test record, punch status, and accepted evidence are linked in the turnover management system. This slide sets the control position for Week 4 on the CPOS, or Central Plant Optimization and Supervisory Control workstream. The key message is that system registers and release gates are being carried forward for approval, but progress remains at the governance level because the weekly source does not yet show refreshed, system-specific movement. No activity is credited as complete until it is tied to an approved boundary, accountable owner, asset tag, and accepted record in the turnover management system. The immediate Week 5 action is to sign the system register and responsibility matrix, then publish need dates and evidence gates across design, procurement and factory testing, builder's work, installation, testing, and handover. The control scope still needs confirmation, including authority, interfaces, manual override, and failure-safe behavior. Design evidence should include sequence and state diagrams, data point mapping, optimization rules, alarm and fallback logic, and a simulation plan. Procurement must address architecture, licenses, integrations, backups, and support. Site readiness includes networks, validated points, time synchronization, permissions, and controlled deployment. Testing progresses from offline simulation through point validation, sequence proving, optimization metrics, and failure or fallback testing. This slide sets the control position for the Week 4 water leak detection workstream. The key message is that system registers and release gates are being carried forward for approval, but progress credit remains at the governance level until every package has an approved boundary, accountable owner, and accepted record. No activity is considered complete until its asset tag, inspection or test record, punch status, and supporting evidence are linked in the turnover management system. The control scope includes sensing cables and probes, controllers, zones, containment interfaces, alarms, location mapping, and responses through the BMS, security, and operations teams. Current evidence is still open across design, interfaces, procurement, installation, and testing. The next gates are therefore specific: approve risk zones and alarm ownership, issue zone drawings and interface matrices, confirm compatible equipment and FAT requirements, protect installation routes and test points, and define commissioning boundaries and witness authority. For Week 5, the required action is to sign the system register and responsibility matrix, then publish need dates and evidence gates through handover. Ownership sits with the controls or WLD manager and the commissioning manager. This slide sets the Week 04 control position for the elevator system, covering passenger, service, and firefighter operation. The central issue is not simply physical progress. It is whether each package has a defined boundary, accountable owner, and accepted record. No activity is reported complete until its asset tag, inspection or test record, punch status, and accepted evidence are linked in the turnover management system. The control scope includes shafts and pits, machine and control equipment, power, communications, access, rescue, and fire interfaces. At this point, the slide identifies open evidence across design, responsibility, loading, interfaces, procurement, installation, and testing. Procurement and factory acceptance testing have not yet been released, and site installation is not planned for release. Commissioning remains at CXL 0, so the acceptance path still needs to be defined. The Week 05 priority is to sign the system register and responsibility matrix, then publish need dates and evidence gates for design, procurement and FAT, builder's work, installation, testing, and handover. Acceptance ultimately progresses from safety and functional tests through performance, fire recall, rescue, communications, and authority approval. This slide sets the Week 4 control position for the Yoti crane and plant lifting system. The key point is that progress credit remains at the governance level, because the weekly source does not provide refreshed system-specific evidence. No package can be treated as complete until it has an approved boundary, accountable owner, and accepted record. The open scope includes the crane or hoist, runway rails, end stops, safe working load, power and controls, access, maintenance, and plant replacement interfaces. Design evidence is also missing, including the coordinated general arrangement, load paths, runway alignment, clearances, isolation, and rescue provisions. Procurement and FAT records, site surveys, installation records, and exclusion zone controls are not yet provided. The Week 5 gate is to sign the system register and responsibility matrix, then publish need dates and evidence gates across design, procurement, installation, testing, and handover. Testing must progress from functional checks to brake and emergency devices to proof loading, third-party certification, training, and turnover. The accountable team is the EOT and Special Lifting Systems Manager, with the structural and commissioning leads, supported by complete TMS evidence. This control position focuses on the BMU and facade access package, including roof trolleys and tracks, monorails, cradles, davits, anchors, ropes, roof access, maintenance, and rescue interfaces. At Week 04, the actual status remains open, because the package has not yet been tied to an approved boundary, accountable owner, and accepted record. The key control is completing the evidence chain from design through handover. The immediate design gap is a coordinated coverage study with reach geometry, structural and rail loads, parapet interfaces, waterproofing, power, controls, access, and rescue provisions. Procurement also needs a certified package and an approved FAT and proof load plan. On site, the team must accept the structural survey, installation, waterproofing closure, tagging, and inspection records. Testing then needs to demonstrate travel, hoisting, limits, emergency descent, proof load performance, and rescue, followed by third-party certification, training, and handover. For Week 05, the register and responsibility matrix should be signed, with need dates and evidence gates published. The accountable team is the package manager, structural lead, HSE, and commissioning manager. Completion requires accepted anchors or rails, proof load certificates, a rescue demonstration, closed punches, and a linked TMS record. This slide sets the control position for the security systems package, covering both internal and external protection. The scope includes access control, CCTV, intrusion detection, intercoms, turnstiles and man-traps, vehicle barriers, perimeter detection, the control room, and interfaces with ICT and other building systems. At Week 4, progress is still at the governance level. The system register, responsibility matrix, design basis, and interface records need to be formally approved before progress can be credited to specific packages. That includes defining zones, threats and risks, device coverage, retention, resilience, privacy, cybersecurity boundaries, and operational workflows. The next gates extend across the full delivery chain. Approved device and platform selections, procurement and FAT obligations, site provisions, installation releases, and commissioning criteria. Testing should move from individual devices and doors to camera coverage and recording, alarm workflows, failover, and integrated incident scenarios. The key principle is no activity is complete without linked evidence in the turnover management system. An asset tag, inspection or test record, punch status, and accepted documentation. The security systems manager and commissioning manager own that control. This slide sets out the week 04 commissioning position for the data center project. Testing and commissioning sits within MEP delivery, while the client and commissioning advisor provide independent oversight for acceptance. The immediate priority is to establish CXL1 design and factory acceptance readiness, while maintaining CXL0 governance as the minimum accepted level. That means the team must agree on system boundaries, the asset hierarchy, acceptance criteria, witness authority, and the turnover structure. Every system should progress only when its evidence is linked, accepted, properly tagged, and aligned with the integrated program. The table shows the full progression from design review at CXL0 through FAT, off-site verification, receiving and installation readiness, pre-functional testing, functional performance testing, and integrated systems testing. The final stage, CXL6, confirms operational readiness and handover, including training, operations and maintenance information, spares, warranties, seasonal testing, and signed acceptance. In practical terms, the project is building a controlled evidence chain, from requirements and test scripts through witnessed results and final turnover, rather than treating commissioning as a single end-stage activity. This slide sets out the week 04 evidence closure plan and the commitments that must carry into the next cycle. The immediate priority is to issue a reconciled data pack against the August 19th cutoff, with signed movement, variance, and evidence reconciliation from project controls. Before week 05, 3 critical decisions need closure. Confirm the board pile decision and its permit, IFC, and utility prerequisites. Recover aging, workfront critical engineering replies, and issue the related dispositions, revisions, and construction transmittals. In parallel, construction, HSE, and QA/QC must certify plant and operators and accept the logistics, utility, and trial mix gates before those activities are used. The MEP and commissioning teams also need to approve the system register, tags, boundaries, package gates, and need dates, supported by the TMS hierarchy. The governing principle is every action must have one accountable owner, a need date, a predecessor, objective evidence, a verifier, and an explicit closure or carry-forward status. This turns the plan from a list of intentions into a controlled, auditable workflow. This slide records the week 04 HSE control position and the action required before week 05. The reported performance is positive, with 0 incidents over 50 days and 14,148 cumulative man-hours. The site included 35 project workers, 7 utility workers, 5 construction supervisors, and 2 safety supervisors. Reported activities also include 10 induction sessions reaching 69 people, 37 Toolbox talks involving 43 people, and 1 safety training session for 22 people. However, the key issue is not the lagging result. It is the quality and currency of the source data. Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so no week 04 movement can be credited until the August 26th position is reconciled. Several leading control records are missing, including the weekly safety meeting, safety mass meeting, and safety patrol. The required decision is to maintain mobilization and issue a leading control dashboard with same cycle closeout. The HSE manager owns this action, due before week 05. Acceptance requires a current data date, an accountable owner, an objective record, and verified closeout for every control. This slide records week 04 resource mobilization and the control action required before week 05. Report 004 repeats the internal record issued on August 19th, so no week 04 movement is credited until the position dated August 26th is reconciled. The reported workforce includes 54 core and office personnel, plus 38 subcontractor and Manda personnel, for a combined total of 92. There are also 7 separate utility interface workers, covering temporary grounding and power, early works, and the board pile workforce. The key concern is that a single headcount can conceal gaps in supervision, competence, attendance, and productive utilization. Stale source data can also hide current exposure, variance, or work that has actually been closed. The required project manager decision is to approve workfront and shift deployment only when attendance, competence, and supervisor coverage are confirmed. Before week 05, the construction manager must issue a role-loaded manpower and productivity register under control record W04-02. Acceptance requires a clear accountable owner, a current date, an objective supporting record, and verified closeout. This slide records the week 04 control position for plant mobilization. The key principle is simple. Plant must not be released for use until registration, inspection, operator competence, and workfront allocation have all been accepted. The plant manager owns that control, and the due point is before use. The current report identifies 28 plant and equipment units on site, plus 1 mechanical and electrical tool lot. The inventory includes office and welfare containers, surveying equipment, excavators, board pile rigs, cranes, generators, fuel storage, compressors, and supporting tools. The table is therefore more than a list. It is the baseline that must be checked against current site conditions. The project manager notes that Report 004 simply repeats the internal August 19th record. Until the August 26th position is reconciled, no week 04 movement should be credited. Stale information could hide exposure, variance, or incomplete closeout, while missing certification or pre-use checks could create both HSE risk and idle cost. For week 05, the required action is to complete the plant register, certification, and release record W04-03 with a named owner, current date, objective evidence, and verified closeout. This slide focuses on week 04 project control and a central governance issue. Leadership roles have been identified, but delegated authority still needs to be formally signed. The organization spans the steering committee, project director, head office support and engineering functions, the data center specialist team, and the site delivery managers across project management, HSE, quality, commercial, engineering, MEP, architecture, civil, and structural work. The immediate control is to approve a responsibility and delegated authority matrix covering design, construction, HSE, quality, and interfaces. The project director owns this action, with completion required before week 05. The assessment also notes that Report 004 repeats the internal August 19th record, so no week 04 progress should be credited until the August 26th position is reconciled. The project impact is significant. Stale source data can hide current exposure, variance, or items that appear closed, while an organizational chart alone does not establish who can decide, escalate, or respond. For week 05, the required output is a signed RACI and authority matrix, with an accountable owner, current date, objective evidence, and verified closeout. This slide establishes the control record for week 04 and sets the governance requirement for week 05. The central issue is that Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so no week 04 movement can be credited until the position dated August 26th is reconciled. That matters because stale source data can hide current exposure, variance, or work that appears closed but has not been verified. The required decision is to confirm one reporting rhythm, clear package ownership, a defined document control route, and a consistent meeting cadence across the full delivery team. One RACI and reporting rhythm must govern the entire delivery team. This includes head office governance, the steering committee, the project director, engineering and MEP managers, the site office, and the integrated functional leads. Before week 05, the project manager is to publish the organization, RACI, and meeting cadence. Acceptance should only be recorded when there is an accountable owner, a current date, an objective record, and verified closeout. That creates one reliable basis for decisions across controls, design, delivery, commissioning, architecture, civil, plant, and support functions. This week 04 control record focuses on one immediate issue. The source program is dated August 19th, but the current critical path still needs to be issued. Report 004 repeats that internal record, so no week 04 movement can be credited until the position as of August 26th is reconciled. The key control is to confirm one approved date for board pile commencement. The chart currently shows both August 22nd and August 29th, which creates an unresolved commitment basis and can conceal the project's actual exposure, variance, or closure status. The look-ahead includes procurement, CSA, engineering, and long lead targets, but it assumes that permits, IFC information, and utility closure are complete before board piling begins. I need the planning manager to close each release prerequisite with named evidence before week 05. For week 05, the required output is a logic-linked plan and a signed board pile release checklist. Acceptance depends on 4 things: an accountable owner, a current data date, an objective record, and verified closeout. This slide is the week 04 engineering control record for the data center project, and the central issue is the lack of movement in the response register. Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so no week 04 progress can be credited until the August 26th position is reconciled. The register shows 39 first submissions and 0 replies. Those submissions include 9 material approval requests, 10 RFIs, 18 shop drawings, and 2 work method submissions. This aging backlog is not simply an administrative concern. Stale source data can hide current exposure, variance, or apparent closure, while unresolved dispositions may block field release, procurement, and temporary works. The required decision is to assign a construction need date and a named reviewer for every item, then escalate overdue critical responses daily. The design manager owns this action, due before week 05. For week 05, the control record requires an aging report and a disposition recovery forecast. Acceptance depends on 4 things: an accountable owner, a current data date, an objective record, and verified closeout. This week's quality control record focuses on the trial mix source and the requirement to close the dossier before production concrete. The current report repeats the internal August 19th record, so no week 04 movement can be credited until the position is reconciled against the August 26th status. The program includes multiple concrete grades and slumps, along with a first 7-day average of 28.49 megapascals. However, the record also contains stale source data, future dates in the actual column, and acceptance fields that remain open at the cutoff. That combination can conceal current exposure, variance, or incomplete closure. The project manager's decision is therefore clear: reconcile the register and issue the signed trial mix dossier before any production concrete is placed. The QA/QC manager owns this action, with the due point set as before production, under Control Record W04-08. For week 05, the control must link the mix, batch, sample, test results, witness, and formal disposition. Acceptance requires a named owner, a current data date, objective supporting records, and verified closeout. This week's control record highlights a basic but important issue. 4 of the 9 site readiness activities repeat as complete, but no week 04 movement can be credited until the position as of August 26th is reconciled. The repeated completed activities are site clearing, temporary water, temporary plant and utility foundations, and the washing bay. 5 activities remain in progress: temporary electric power, the site office, PLN cable relocation, plant and staff mobilization, and the concrete trial mix. The concern is not simply reporting accuracy. Stale source data can conceal current exposure, variance, or an activity that appears closed without sufficient evidence. In particular, the board pile workfront remains exposed until the power, office, utility, mobilization, and trial mix gates are accepted. The required control is straightforward. Close every activity using a measurable quantity, an inspection record, and a confirmed successor release. Before week 05, the construction manager must issue a readiness matrix and accepted workfront releases. Each acceptance needs a named owner, a current data date, an objective record, and verified closeout. This slide records week 04 control for the early works facilities, with a focus on site logistics and emergency access. The central issue is not simply where the site office or specialist areas are placed, but whether that location supports safe movement, delivery routes, emergency response, and ongoing utility works. The project control record notes that Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th. As a result, no week 04 movement is credited until the position as of August 26th has been reconciled. This is an important control point because stale source data can hide current exposure, variants, or actions that appear closed but have not been verified. The project manager's decision is clear. Approve the facility location only after it has been checked against logistics, traffic, and emergency response requirements. The construction manager owns this action, and it must be completed before occupation. For week 05, the required control is approval of the logistics drawing and a route inspection. Acceptance depends on 4 things: a named owner, current data, an objective record, and verified closeout. The applicable control record is W04-10. This slide records the week 04 control position for site office logistics. The office is not simply a workspace. It must support welfare, coordination, administration, communication, and controlled access to project records. The project manager is responsible for verifying room allocation, welfare arrangements, muster provisions, communications, and document access before the office is occupied. The key concern is that Report 004 repeats the internal record dated August 19th, so no week 04 progress can be credited until the position as of August 26th is reconciled. Current, verifiable information is essential to control. Without it, stale data can hide emerging exposure, unrecognized variants, or items that appear closed but are not. The required decision is therefore to complete that verification and confirm the supporting records. For week 05, the project manager must issue a site office handover and operating checklist. Acceptance should identify an accountable owner, show the current data date, include an objective record, and demonstrate verified closeout. The control record for this action is W04-11, and the due point is before occupation. This slide records the week 04 control position for Phase 1 logistics on the data center project. The central requirement is to separate people, plant, and utilities before the phase is released. That means freezing distinct pedestrian, delivery, lifting, fabrication, and emergency routes, with the construction manager accountable for completion. The project manager's assessment identifies a reporting and control issue. Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so no week 04 movement can be credited until the position dated August 26th is reconciled. The Phase 1 layout does map temporary routes, storage areas, plant, the washing bay, and pedestrian movement, but the information must be current and objectively supported. The impact of stale source data is significant. It can conceal current exposure, variance, or supposed closure, while overlapping routes may create line of fire, access, and utility interface risks. For week 05, the decision is to approve the logistics plan and conduct daily route inspections. Acceptance requires a named owner, a current data date, an objective control record, and verified closeout. The construction manager owns this action, due before Phase 1 release, under Control Record W04-12. This slide records the week 04 site overview and focuses on how early works are being controlled across multiple interfaces. The key issue is that Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so no week 04 progress can be credited until the site position as of August 26th is reconciled. The aerial view provides useful context, showing clearing, temporary facilities, materials, and plant distributed across the early work footprint. The main project risk is stale source data. If the information is not current, it can conceal exposure, variance, or work that appears complete but has not been properly closed out. With several activities happening at once, the site needs clear zoning and controlled daily access. The required action is straightforward. At daily coordination, the construction manager must issue workfront boundaries, delivery windows, and emergency routes. For week 05, the control record must capture each workfront release and logistics inspection. Acceptance requires 4 things: an accountable owner, a current data date, an objective record, and verified closeout. This slide records the week 04 site overview and the control actions required to keep access, utilities, and survey information current. The key issue is that Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so no week 04 progress can be credited until the position dated August 26th is reconciled. Current, verified information is the basis for reliable project control. The second aerial view also shows active work close to the public road and adjoining properties. That makes stale data particularly risky because boundary conditions, drainage, public access, and utility routes may change as construction advances. The project manager's decision is to maintain survey control, traffic management, and stakeholder access on every shift. For week 05, the construction manager owns this control, with a daily due cycle under record W04-14. Verification must cover boundary and access controls, and acceptance requires four things: an accountable owner, a current data date, an objective record, and verified closeout. In practical terms, the team needs to reconcile the latest position, document conditions as they exist now, and confirm that each exposure is actively controlled. This slide records a week 04 health and safety leading control for the data center project, making sure Toolbox talks are specific to the work being performed. The key issue is that Report 004 repeats the internal August 19th record, so no week 04 progress can be credited until the August 26th position is reconciled. The project risk is practical. Stale source data can hide current exposure, emerging variance, or work that has not actually been closed. Likewise, a generic attendance sheet does not demonstrate that workers understood the exact permit requirements, hazards, and controls for their task. The project manager's decision is to require task-specific hazards, clear stop work expectations, and confirmation from the supervisor. This briefing must happen before field activity, with the HSE manager accountable on each shift. For week 05, the control record, W04-15, must connect the briefing, attendance, and field observations. Acceptance depends on four things: an accountable owner, a current data date, an objective record, and verified closeout. The most important concept is evidence that the briefing changed field understanding and behavior. This slide records a week 04 HSE leading control for the data center project. Toolbox talk attendance must be converted into field verification. Attendance alone shows participation, but it does not prove that workers understood the briefing or applied it at the workfront. The project manager's assessment identifies a data control issue. Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so no week 04 progress can be credited until the position dated August 26th is reconciled. A second Toolbox record indicates broad workforce participation, but the effectiveness of that briefing remains unproven until supervisors check actual behavior in the field. The decision is therefore to sample worker understanding and perform close observations against the briefing before work continues. For week 05, the HSE manager owns the control on every shift. The required record is W04-16, and acceptance depends on four conditions: an accountable owner, a current data date, objective evidence, and verified same-shift closeout. The central message is attendance is not control until it is verified in the field. This slide records the week 04 control position for plant and piling readiness on the data center project. The immediate objective is to release the ground and access route before mobilization, so the piling team can work safely and without avoidable delay. The project manager's control decision is to approve four areas: the plant route, platform capacity, the survey, and drainage and exclusion boundaries. The key issue is that Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, and therefore no week 04 movement can be credited until the position as of August 26th has been reconciled. At the same time, the active workfront already contains heavy plant, materials, and ground preparation. That creates a real control risk. Stale source data can hide current exposure, variance, or incomplete closeout. Unreleased access, or ground that has not been confirmed as adequate, could destabilize equipment and delay mobilization. For week 05, the piling manager owns the action, due before mobilization. The required control record is W04-17, documenting ground-bearing capacity and formal workfront release. Acceptance requires a named owner, a current data date, objective evidence, and verified closeout. This control record focuses on plant and piling readiness during week 04, specifically the board pile plant and the controls required before it operates. The crawler, crane, and piling equipment are positioned for early construction activity, but the record repeats the internal August 19th position. So no week 04 movement can be credited until the August 26th status is reconciled. The key concern is that stale source data may conceal current exposure, variance, or an issue that has not actually been closed. Before operation, the project team must verify the lift plan, equipment certificates, operator and rigger competence, assembly arrangements, and pre-start inspections. Line of fire controls are also essential, because lifting and piling activities can create serious exposure if exclusion zones and responsibilities are unclear. The PM decision is to approve the complete control package before work starts. For week 05, the plant or piling manager owns the action and must issue the plant release pack, together with a signed pre-start inspection. Acceptance requires a named accountable owner, a current data date, objective supporting records, and verified closeout under control record W04-18. This slide records the week 04 control position for temporary services on the data center project. The central requirement is straightforward. Every temporary service must be commissioned, labeled, inspected, and formally handed over before anyone relies on it. The temporary works manager owns this action, and the due point is before reliance, not after an incident or operational need arises. The project manager's assessment identifies a data control issue. Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so no week 04 movement can be credited until the position as of August 26th is reconciled. At the same time, temporary tanks, generators, and other service equipment are already installed beside the early work area. That creates exposure if systems are used before testing, labeling, or protection is complete. The decision is therefore to control use through evidence, not assumption. In week 05, the team must issue test, capacity, and handover certificates. Acceptance requires 4 things: an accountable owner, a current data date, an objective record, and verified closeout. The relevant control record is W04-19, owned by the temporary works manager, with completion required before reliance. This slide records the week 04 control position for board pile preparation, with attention to plant, materials, lifting, and safe access. The control owner is the piling manager, and the check is due daily as part of the logistics plan. The key concern is that Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th. Until the position dated August 26th is reconciled, no week 04 movement can be credited. That matters because the workfront already contains piling materials, plant, and several assembly or storage zones, creating potential access and coordination risks. The project impact is twofold. Stale information can hide current exposure, variance, or items that may already be closed. At the same time, poor sequencing can block routes and create lifting or line of fire conflicts. The required decision is to control zone materials, plant assembly, lifting, and safe passage within the daily logistics plan. For week 05, the piling manager must verify the route, exclusion zone, and material controls every day. Acceptance requires an accountable owner, a current data date, an objective record, and verified closeout. The control record is W04-20. This slide records the week 04 control position for the site facilities workstream, with particular attention to interfaces between piling, utilities, permits, surveying, temporary services, and handover. The central issue is not simply whether construction is moving forward. It is whether the project team is working from current, reconciled evidence. Report 004 repeats the internal record issued on August 19th, so no week 04 progress can be credited until the position dated August 26th is reconciled. At the same time, site facility construction is progressing alongside plant and utility activities, which increases the need for disciplined coordination. Stale source data can conceal current exposure, variance, or apparent closure. The project impact is practical. Shared boundaries may lead to rework, service damage, or congestion that restricts access. The required decision is therefore to coordinate the relevant permits, survey information, temporary services, and handover activities with the piling sequence. For week 05, the construction manager owns control record W04-21, due before successor work. Acceptance requires an accountable owner, a current data date, an objective record, and verified closeout. This control record focuses on the washing bay handover at week 04. The bay is reported as complete and visually available for use, but that does not yet establish operational acceptance. Before the area is used, the team must commission and confirm the drainage, define the operating rules, and complete the handover inspection. The key concern is that Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th. Until that information is reconciled with the August 26th position, no week 04 movement should be credited. In other words, stale source data could conceal current exposure, variance, or an incomplete closeout. The project manager's decision is therefore clear. Completion requires verified drainage, environmental acceptance, and operating acceptance, not just visual readiness. Construction and HSE own the action, with a due point before use. For week 05, they must issue the washing bay test and handover record under control reference W04-22. That record needs an accountable owner, a current data date, objective supporting evidence, and verified closeout before the handover can be considered complete. This slide records the week 04 control position for concrete trial mix testing. The central issue is that fresh concrete testing must be witnessed and properly linked to the current project record. Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so it does not demonstrate movement for the August 26th reporting position. Until that discrepancy is reconciled, no week 04 progress should be credited. The control requirement is practical and specific. Before production, the QA/QC manager must capture the batch, testing time, sample identification numbers, equipment calibration, and witness acceptance. These details create an objective record that can support mix approval and production release. Without them, stale or unlinked test information can hide current exposure, variance, or unresolved actions. The required week 05 action is to issue a witnessed fresh test record under control record W04-23. Closure depends on four things: an accountable owner, a current data date, objective evidence, and verified closeout. The QA/QC manager owns this action, and it must be completed before production begins. This slide records the week 04 control for the concrete trial mix, with a specific focus on confirming approved placement conditions. The key control is to compare the measured trial result with the approved mix and placement method, then formally disposition any variance. The QA/QC manager owns this action, and it is due at each trial. The project manager's assessment highlights an important records issue. Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so no week 04 movement is credited until the position dated August 26th is reconciled. Concrete temperature must be measured and recorded during the trial, because a temperature outside the approved range can affect setting and strength development. The immediate decision is therefore straightforward. Verify the current temperature result against the approved requirements and document the outcome. For week 05, the temperature result also needs to be linked to the relevant mix and batch. Acceptance requires an accountable owner, current data, an objective record, and verified closeout. The QA/QC manager remains responsible, with control record W04-24, due at each trial. This control record focuses on concrete trial mix control during week 04, specifically the relationship between slump, approved workability, pumping, and placement requirements. The purpose is not simply to record a test result, but to confirm that the concrete is acceptable for the method it will actually follow on site. The key control is acceptance against the approved mix, pumping method, and placement need. The QA/QC manager owns this verification, and it is due at each trial. That means the result must be current, objectively recorded, and tied to the specific trial being assessed. From a project control perspective, Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so no week 04 movement should be credited until the August 26th position is reconciled. A stale source can hide current exposure, variance, or an issue that appears closed when it is not. Uncontrolled water addition, or a slump outside the approved range, could also undermine durability and affect placement performance. The week 05 requirement is clear. Record the result and formally disposition any variance. Closure requires an accountable owner, a current data date, objective evidence, and verified closeout. This control record addresses the concrete trial mix review for week 04, with one clear objective: close the technical disposition before production. The current assessment is that Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so no week 04 movement can be credited until the position dated August 26th is reconciled. The team is reviewing the trial mix data and the remaining technical points, but the key risk is that stale source information may conceal current exposure, variance, or items that appear closed when they are not. If the discussion remains verbal, production release is also exposed because there is no signed, controlled disposition. The required project management action is to issue the agreed mix decision, all comments, and any required adjustment in the controlled dossier. The QA/QC manager owns this action, and it is due before production. The control record is W04-26. For week 05, the team must close the joint technical review and approval. Acceptance requires 4 things: an accountable owner, current data with a clear date, an objective record, and verified closeout. That combination turns a technical conversation into a defensible project control decision. This control record focuses on concrete material control, specifically the aggregate sample and its traceability through the approval process. The central issue is that Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so it does not demonstrate any new week 04 progress until the position dated August 26th is reconciled. The samples themselves are being retained to verify size, grading, and source. That matters because stale source data can hide current exposure, variance, or unresolved actions, while an untraceable material can undermine trial results and future production consistency. The required project manager decision is clear. Link the sample to the supplier's role, the relevant test certificate, and the approved material record. No approval should proceed without a complete, objective traceability chain. For week 05, the QA/QC manager owns completion of the record, due before approval, under control record W04-27. Acceptance requires 4 things: an accountable owner, a current data date, objective supporting evidence, and verified closeout. This slide records the week 04 control requirement for concrete trial mix density and air testing. The central point is simple but critical: calibration and sample identity are mandatory. Before relying on any result, the project team must verify that the equipment is calibrated, the sample is clearly identified, the test is witnessed, and acceptance is recorded against the applicable limits. The QA/QC manager owns this control, and the verification is due at each trial. The project manager's assessment also identifies a reporting problem. Report 004 repeats the internal record from August 19th, so no week 04 movement can be credited until the position dated August 26th is reconciled. Without current source data, the project could miss present exposure, variance, or an apparent closeout. Field equipment and sample paperwork alone do not make the result valid. The required decision is to verify the equipment, sample IDs, witness, and acceptance record. For week 05, the QA/QC manager must issue the density and air test record, with an accountable owner, current data date, objective evidence, and verified closeout under control record W04-28. This control record focuses on digital quality traceability for the batch portal during week 04. The portal captures mix, dispatch, and production information, but that information only supports project control when it matches the physical evidence. No week 04 movement is credited until the August 26th position is reconciled. The concern is that Report 004 repeats the internal August 19th record. If the source data is stale, it can conceal current exposure, variance, or incomplete closure. The required response is therefore to freeze the batch record and cross-check timestamps, quantities, ticket references, sample IDs, and laboratory results. The QA/QC manager owns this action, and it must be completed before dossier closure. For week 05, the control is to reconcile the portal against tickets, samples, and test results, using control record W04-29. Acceptance depends on four things: an accountable owner, a current data date, an objective supporting record, and verified closeout. The key message is that digital records are useful only when their traceability can be demonstrated against the physical and laboratory evidence. This slide records the week 04 control position for utility interfaces, with a specific focus on what is complete, what remains open, and what must be verified before week 05. The dam activities are complete. Pipe wrapping inside the site finished on July 31st, and the new air valve outside the site finished on August 5th. PLN cable relocation and excavation started on August 9th, but remains in progress, with a reported target of approximately 2 weeks. Gas pipe relocation is also shown as waiting, so the utility picture is not yet fully closed. The key management issue is data currency. Report 004 repeats the internal August 19th record, and no week 04 movement should be credited until the August 26th position is reconciled. Stale information could conceal current exposure, delay the board pile start, or affect public and service interfaces. The required decision is to confirm permits, service continuity, testing, target completion, and reinstatement gates. Before week 05, the interface manager must issue one constraint and acceptance register, using current data, an accountable owner, objective evidence, and verified closeout for every item. This slide consolidates the project's critical constraints and risk register for week 4. The most important message is that several risks are red because the project's control evidence is not current enough to support confident decisions. Report 004 is dated August 26th, but its underlying records stop at August 19th. The August 29th board pile target is also approaching without clear evidence of the required permit, IFC release, or utility clearance. Engineering is another major concern. The record shows 39 submissions and no replies, while current aging is not reported. At the interfaces, PLN relocation is still active and gas pipe relocation remains pending. These issues can affect access, safety, and schedule continuity. 2 amber risks also need attention. Current evidence for plant, operators, logistics, and trial mix acceptance is incomplete, and MEP and commissioning systems lack clearly reported boundaries, owners, and evidence gates. The response rule is straightforward. Every risk needs a named response, a due date, objective evidence, and an escalation threshold. Narrative awareness alone is not mitigation. Project controls, planning, design, interface, construction, QA/QC, and MEP or CX owners must therefore convert these findings into trackable actions. This decision register is designed to keep the week 04 workfront moving by making authority explicit before progress is credited or activities are released. The first 2 required decisions are foundational. Reconcile the single week 04 data date and variance position, then confirm the board pile start with every release prerequisite approved. Engineering also needs defined reply priorities, aging limits, and escalation dates, while the PLN and gas interfaces require clear completion, testing, and reinstatement gates. The open decisions focus on execution and handover readiness. That means releasing certified plant and operators, confirming logistics, and accepting the trial mix dossier. It also means defining MEP and commissioning ownership, system boundaries, tags, and lifecycle gates. The key discipline is to record not only what was decided, but who had the authority, what evidence supported it, and which control documents must change afterward. Acceptance records are therefore essential, whether they are reconciliation sheets, release checklists, aging reports, permits, signed release packs, or system registers. This turns decisions into auditable actions rather than informal agreements. This slide converts the week 04 meeting outcomes into a clear week 05 action register. The key principle is that each action has an accountable owner, a due point, and a required form of evidence or verification. The 5 critical actions must be closed before week 05, or by the dates shown. These include issuing the signed reconciliation pack, confirming the board pile start and release checklist, closing workfront critical engineering replies, and resolving the PLN and gas authority decisions with a service continuity forecast. The remaining actions support readiness and assurance. Construction and HSE must complete the plant, operator, logistics, and workfront release packs before use. QA/QC must reconcile the trial mix register and issue the accepted concrete dossier before production. The MEP and commissioning team must approve system boundaries and package gates, while the project manager carries all open references forward until verified closure. This creates a disciplined handover from one reporting week to the next, rather than allowing unresolved items to disappear. The status labels distinguish urgency from assurance, so the team can focus first on actions that directly protect progress and safe release. This conclusion centers on a critical control issue in week 04. Although Report 004 carries an issue date of August 26th, the detailed controls stop at August 19th and repeat the previous cycle's values. That means no new progress, variance, or release can be credited until a reconciled signed current week pack is accepted. Project leadership must establish one signed data date, a current plan, and a carry-forward register. The Open A03 commitments remain active until their acceptance evidence is verified. Engineering and MEP, including commissioning, must provide current aging information, validate long lead gates, and issue signed system-level registers. Governance activity by itself is not physical progress. For construction, board piling and successor work cannot be released without accepted evidence covering permits, IFC information, utilities, certified plant and operators, logistics, and quality, all aligned to the same need date. The operating principle is straightforward. Carry each week 03 commitment into week 04 source reconciliation, make a documented decision, assign an owner, confirm acceptance, and only then establish the week 05 forecast. This reference slide provides the abbreviation and control glossary for the data center project, supporting consistent communication across the main contractor, CSA, and MEP teams. The terms cover several areas of project delivery. For example, CSA means civil, structural, and architectural, while MEP refers to mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. Commissioning activities are represented by CX, FAT, IST, and PFC, covering commissioning, factory acceptance testing, integrated systems testing, and pre-functional checklists. The glossary also includes document and approval controls, such as MAR for material approval request, RFI for request for information, SD for shop drawing, ITP for inspection and test plan, and VDR for vendor document register. Quality and compliance terms include IR, NCR, and HSE, while commercial and operational references include PO, O&M, LLE, and SLA. The most important point is that these definitions are not assumed to be universal. Project-specific meanings, along with status thresholds such as RAG, red, amber, and green, must be confirmed in the approved project controls plan and commissioning plan. This ensures the same terminology and control rules are applied consistently throughout the project. Week 4's control cycle is complete, but Week 5 must close the source control gap with current signed and accepted release evidence. The priority is objective proof, not verbal status. We need to issue the signed data reconciliation pack and dashboard, confirm the board pile decision, and close permit, IFC, and utility gates. We'll also recover critical engineering dispositions, freeze the approved look-ahead, release certified resources and concrete controls, approve MEP and commissioning ownership, and carry every open R04, D04, and A04 predecessor through verified closure.